Welcome back, everybody. Episode number 7 of Welcome back, everybody. Episode number 7, Pinkbike Academy behind the scenes. Well, after the drama of last week, here we are again. We are smiling and happy and ready to go. Today is going to be a pretty fun one because it's the first time I get to sit in the driver's seat with you, because I wasn't actually in the episode, so I don't know what's going to happen. This should be a really fun one. Today, Race and Suspension Rebuild Challenge. That's the title on deck. Let's see what it's all about.
Last time on Pinkbike Academy, the remaining 6 riders were paired up into teams and competed in a challenge that tested their abilities to work together. Evan and Joe were the final team to complete the challenge, but it was Addison and Vlad who were sent home due to multiple rule violations. This time, the remaining riders will work closely with a Fox technician and compete in a challenge.
This week, I want to talk about episode 6.5. It's going to be our psychology episode. Then I want to talk about what life was like off camera, how long we filmed for, and what exactly happened in my crash. More on that later as we get deeper into this video. I guess I can go ahead and adjust how long we filmed for while we're just doing the intro. So we were out there for approximately 2 weeks or so. During the day we filmed typically from 8 or so in the morning to 6 at night. Rough, not
high tech.
A rough estimate. We didn't really have like a set schedule every day, but usually 10 or so hours a day.
Yeah, feels awesome.
Super fun being in the Final Four for sure.
First off, I wanted to start by saying congratulations to making it to the Final Four. There are only a few challenges left that stand between you and $25,000 plus a pro contract from Orbea Bikes.
The atmosphere is really friendly right now, which is awesome.
I feel like we are all really good friends. We all come from similar backgrounds. Yeah, I feel like it's good energy and I'm excited for the competition.
Today is all about suspension. Darren from Fox is going to run you through a basic fork service.
So jealous of this competition.
You'll need to do it on your own. Now, we could use the 38s on your bike, but Fox has kindly given us 4 brand new limited edition pistachio 38s. Judging you today
favorite
will
thing
be Darren from Fox, of course, as well as Christina Chapetta, Fabien Cousinet. They'll be paying attention to how well you listen during the demonstration.
My favorite thing about those forks, the lowers are cool in the pistachio mint green color, but I actually like the black anodized compression, high speed, low speed, and the air inlet valve covers. Those look really good in black. I wish they did all of them in black. It's so sick.
And how well you perform the fork service. Darren has every right to ask you to perform the work again if he sees a mistake. After everyone has completed the first part of the challenge, we'll move up to the top of Big White Bike Park for the next part of the challenge. Let's get started.
Tilt your fork in the stand, unscrew this. You have your high speed and low speed rebound adjusters here. Loosen it off so that these come off. Undo the foot nuts. Thread these on halfway. Unscrew these, tilt the fork back and catch oil in your oil pan. Slowly pull the lowers down.
I think that knowing how your suspension works is super important to racing, and to understand the basics of how your suspension works, I think can provide a lot.
Push this down to catch any old oil. Dust wiper seal kit, seal driver, install it on the driver.
I felt very comfortable taking my time and being nice and slow and being exact and being precise.
The air spring side, just feed it under the dust wiper. Foam ring, pop it underneath. Silicoleum grease, a light film on the inside of the dust wiper. Just give the stanchions a quick wipe. Reinstall these just at a slight angle. Start to feed them on.
I was more just going through, making sure the steps were done thoroughly, because if you do something wrong, your fork's not gonna feel good or not work at all. So it's more about like being precise and making sure everything's done right.
Silicoleum grease, and just put a little bit on the inside. Spread that on by hand to start.
This would have been the perfect contest for me.
Side. For the damper side, 15 mil socket. Clean here.
For those of you out there saying you were bummed that I wasn't in this competition, don't worry. If you follow my stories or you follow our shop's stories, you see that I get to do this all the time. This is nothing new for me. I do probably 5 or 6 50 hours a week. It's super fun though. I love it. I honestly love working on suspension. So it would have been pretty cool, not only to get to do it as a competition, but also to work with Darren and see how they recommend doing it by the book, because we as mechanics have always got our way, and then there's the way by the book. So it would have been cool to have a comparison there. I really like watching company tutorials to see what exactly they recommend is the process, to see how it differs or varies from the process that I do on my own work. It's also a good reference to see if there's any new updated steps that you may not know about. I've run into a few situations where I watched the tutorials and I was like, oh, I never thought about that. So it would have been really cool to actually get to sit down and work with Darren on this, but oh well.
A lot, and I trust myself, and it's awesome to be able, if something went wrong, you just have yourself to blame rather than someone else.
Don't forget your rear end cover, and you're ready to hit the trails.
All right, let's
Hey.
give a round of applause to Darren for dropping that knowledge on us.
It's so fun.
You should now have everything you need to complete your fork service. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
It's pretty technical, I'd say. It's not something that your regular mountain biker would do.
So pretty.
Oh my gosh.
This thing is sick.
Curious, who's done this before?
Me. Luckily, growing up, my dad's always kind of taught me mechanical stuff, and we've always rebuilt our forks ourselves, so I've been lucky enough to do it before. It was definitely nice going into this challenge, having previous experience and being comfortable with the tools and everything that way.
It's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
The one good thing about a 50 hour is that you don't really need too many super specific tools to do a 50 hour. In fact, a lot of people, well, I say that. The one really important tool is the seal driver, because if you don't have that, it's pretty difficult to put new seals back in. They're in there pretty tight. But outside of the seal driver, you don't need too many specific tools, and it's not overly technical to do. And with all the tutorials and walkthrough guides online, most people can do 50 hours at your home. The hard part about doing a 50 hours at your home is having your seal driver and your fluids, because it does take very specific fluids that differentiate between almost all fork models. So it's a really good skill to have, and if you have the tools, it's pretty nice to be able to do it at home. But it can get a little bit messy if you haven't done it many times before, so that's also a good note there.
Now you guys have distracted me.
Let's go distract Ben a little bit. It's going too fast. What's going on here?
Just gonna get this little O-ring in here. Yeah, first time properly servicing my suspension. Get this guy on first, and then I won't push it off. So it needs to go inside there. There we go.
Are you sure of what you're doing?
Fabian was definitely giving me a little bit of a hard time on the suspension challenge. Well, if you look on this one, the O-ring's inside, right? He kept just like
I believe the O-ring that he's referring to is your Sag Ring, which is essentially a little black O-ring thing that you use to determine how much sag or how much travel your fork is using when you're setting it up, or even when you're doing trail run and trail test. Actually going to be, you put your seal in the fork, it has a metal O-ring on the outside of it that keeps tension on the wiper that wipes the dust off. That wiper is called a wiper because it wipes dust off when you're going up in the stroke. With inside the lower on the stanchions, it wipes the oil off from the bottom, so it keeps dirt and oil completely separate. Well, there's a metal O-ring on top that keeps that wiper tight on the stanchion, but then you have the Sag Ring that goes on top of it, which actually goes on the stanchion. So my guess is that's what he's referring to too. It's hard to see from the camera angle, but I would guess that's what it is.
being on my back and like asking me if I did things right, and everything I was doing was right.
Maybe your seal is upside down.
Yeah, I know how to do it. I'm all good. And I was like, oh God, like, he's making me feel like I'm doing things wrong, but I wasn't, so it was actually pretty funny. Now I don't know how to get it off. Sweet.
You know you can ask for help anytime.
No, I figured it out. I'm all good. Well, it's definitely important to have people to make sure that you're doing things right, and especially in such a hard challenge. Nice.
Darren, I have a little bit of a question for you. What do you think about those seal on bend fork?
Those look like they're in upside down.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So take them back out, and I'll get you another set.
Sweet, thank you. Yeah, I know how to do it. I made one big mistake.
Okay, so I feel like I've seen a lot of people roasting Ben on putting his seals upside down. If you've never done a lower service, most people don't necessarily look at the wipers on their forks and see the actual shape of it and what it actually looks like or what it's supposed to look like. So for someone that's never done a lower service, you really can't give him too hard of a time for that. Yeah, it's done wrong, but unless you've done it before, unless you know exactly what it's supposed to look like, because they're not flangeless anymore, it used to be back in the day that a lot of wipers had flanges on them, so they could only go in one direction. Well, nowadays they're mostly flangeless seals, so you can drive it in upside down, and unless you know what it's supposed to look like as a final product, for sure off the top of your head, it's hard to tell, because it does go in, but it's not going to work properly. Easy mistake to make if you've never done it before, so quit roasting Ben on that.
Putting the seals in backwards, so that wasn't the greatest. Obviously, you never want to make mistakes, but it's part of it, so yeah. Thank you, Fabian.
Don't hesitate to ask help, I told you. We're not judging on...
Asking for help?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the help.
I really like Fabian's comment there. That's one thing that I stress with my mechanics in the shop is that if you're doing mechanical work on your bike and you don't know what you're doing, don't ever be afraid to ask. Even if you're 75% sure, but there's that 25% margin of error, like, ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. It takes just a few seconds, and majority of the time you will end up saving yourself money or injury by asking someone that knows 100% what they're doing for help. It's never a shame to ask for help and to learn something new. If you don't know something, the best way to go about doing it is learning how to properly do it. Just a note.
No problem.
I think I should have asked for a little bit more help, just making sure that things were right. But when Fabian called me out, I kind of got my crap together, and it was good after that.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
This is very awkward.
Doing good? Or no?
I'm not sure how to take these off, actually.
Okay, so you want to get this part right underneath as far as you can, like press it in hard,
Yeah.
and then you got to just try and prise it out.
Really? Oh my god. I've always really wanted to take apart a fork, but been a little too scared in case I did some damage or put it together backwards, which is very possible. I thought I was gonna break it.
No, you're good.
Wow, okay, that's a lot more like force than
Yeah.
I expected.
Yeah, for sure.
I like Joe's questioning there. I like the fact that she asked Darren if she was doing it properly, because the last thing you want to do on a $12, $13, $14, $1,500 fork is to use the wrong tool in the wrong method and end up scratching your stanchion or your lowers, because there's all sorts of parts on there that are machined very, very specifically, and if you don't do them correctly or if you use the wrong tool, you take a chance on scratching that machining, so the fork is never going to work properly again. So kudos on Joe for asking that. Instead of the seals that I was talking about earlier and referring to are in there very tight actually, and using a pry bar like they're using a big tire lever essentially, it takes quite a bit of strength and quite a bit of effort to actually pop that seal out. And if you don't know that you're doing it right, it definitely can feel wrong, because it's not a natural feeling when you're working on such delicate parts on the bike.
I could feel my nervous energy kind of coming out, definitely.
Joe, how do you know which side is the air and which side is the compression?
I just look at it like it's on my bike. So, like this, it's like on my bike. So we have air on this side, compression on that side.
All right.
And I organized my notes, but everything's in rights and lefts.
Ooh, tidy.
Yeah. I was definitely nervous building the fork. The steps all made sense. My notes were really easy to follow, but just handling the fork itself and physically doing it was very new. Darren, could I ask you a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
There almost doesn't seem to be enough space on this side to fit this guy in.
So, see how these look different?
Yeah.
You got one in upside down.
Oh, weird.
That one's correct. Pop
Yeah.
that one
Okay, so
back out and I'll get you a fresh one.
Thank you.
We call that.
This guy in.
So, see how these look different?
Yeah.
You got one in upside down.
Oh, weird.
That one's correct.
okay, so let's zoom in here for a second. You can actually see on Joe's fork right here that one of them kind of protrudes out of the fork or out of the lower, and then one just kind of looks like it levels off at the top. The one sticking out is the properly installed wiper. The oil wiper portion of that piece actually sits on the outside, and that's what wipes the dirt off. So again here, unless you know that it's supposed to stick out like that, it almost looks wrong. It almost looks opposite of the way that it's supposed to be. So interesting note here. But yeah, the one that's sitting flush is the improper side.
Pop that one
So,
back out
and
I'll get you a fresh
as I was saying, they're designed like that earlier. One reason is because you've got that little metal wire compression band on the outside that's holding tension against the stanchion, which is the upper half of the fork. It's holding tension on there, which is what allows it to wipe dirt off and away from going inside the internals of the fork.
Smart, too.
Smooth, buttery fork.
Thing.
Are you done, Evan?
I am.
Can you feel it? Can I see?
You can.
Ooh,
Supple, huh?
supple.
Just a funny note for people at home is if you're going to check the status of your fork and how it feels, do it more like Evan did, where you flip the fork upside down. I really like that Evan did that, and it shows that he has worked on forks before. So if you flip it upside down like that, you're not potentially damaging anything. If you push on it where the lower half of the fork is on the ground, like you would think that makes sense. But as you could see before, when Darren was talking about it in the beginning, the rebound knob is actually on the bottom of the fork. And when you're pushing on it like Jason is here, there is potential for you maybe bending that rebound knob. So just a note, when you're at home, if you are working on your fork, flip it upside down more like Evan was. And please also don't take this BTS video as a tutorial on how to do a fork. There are plenty of those on the internet, and this is not one of them. Just interesting notes I see along the way.
I wouldn't say it was too easy. It's like definitely there's stuff going on you don't want to mess up.
Feels good. We'll ask Darren for the official opinion.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
Thank you.
Hey, Darren, can I get a QC check? Evan is done here.
I'm quite confident everything was done properly on my fork service.
Looks good. One sag ring, dust covers on. Looks good.
The elimination yesterday definitely showed that there was more to it than time. No matter what, I wouldn't have been focused more on time than quality on something like a fork rebuild.
Yeah, good job.
Beauty.
See, it's good.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Time to take it for a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So sick. Looks good.
Nothing like a new fork.
Ben, you done?
Yep.
Hey, Darren, can we get a QC check on Ben's fork?
All right. Looks good. You got your rebound cover on. Looks good. Crush washers and one sag ring. Yeah, that looks good. Well done.
Sweet.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done, Ben.
You can see that Darren doesn't take the fork off the stand and actually check to see if it's working smoothly. In this instance, because it was just a 50 hour, that's not necessarily a necessity to do. The damper, which is what controls how fast the fork goes in or out, that's where your compression, your rebound, all those adjustments are, and actually dictates how quickly your fork compresses or rebounds, which is why those adjustments are on there, hence the name. If you were working on the damper, that's when that pushing the fork up and down to cycle it would really come into play to see how the fork is feeling. One instance I have had in the past is that I've had a customer bring a fork in that was very sticky, that the foam rings did not get put in properly. One was actually, one of those foam rings was wedged between the wiper and the stanchion, which was causing it to stick. So you've got that motion, but I think Darren was just assuming that he got that correct. That one's almost hard to get incorrect. So that's why Darren didn't take it out of the stand and feel the need to actually check and see if it was smooth, because it was just a lowers.
I thought it definitely went all right, especially since I'd never done it before.
I can't say
But
we
yeah,
anymore, it's them.
I would
I'm
say
not
I was
in
pretty
this.
efficient still.
Okay, there we go.
Once you hear the click,
You're good to go. My strategy for the suspension challenge was to be thorough and to follow Darren's instructions exactly.
we'll might get Darren over here to double check.
Oh. I'm an academic. I've spent a lot of time in school, and I love lists, and I love numbers, and I like step-by-step things.
Hey Darren, can we take a look at this washer?
Oh, what's going on there?
My strategy was just to be very precise with all of my notes, to be exact, and to repeat it step for step exactly like Darren had said.
It looks like you've maybe over-tightened this. I would take it off and we'll get you a new crush washer and check that fit nut.
Okay.
Yes,
Thanks, Darren.
no problem.
Okay, so what he's referring to is on the lowers, there are two bolts, one on each side, that actually hold the lowers onto the upper half or the stanchion of the fork. And those bolts have a little plastic washer on each side. It's different sizes for this fork, but they have little plastic washers that actually crush when you tighten it down, and it creates an airtight and fluid tight seal, so you don't get any fluid or air in or out of that lower half of the fork, because it needs to be a completely sealed system. So that's what that crush washer that he's talking to. And it appears that Angie actually got it so tight that it may have crushed the flange on the bolt as well, just as a note in reference to what they're referring to there.
It was easy for me to follow the instructions. I am a very type A personality.
I think we're pretty spick and span here.
Okay, one sag ring. That's good. Rebound covers on. Crush washers.
My biggest takeaway from this week is that I actually love it. And even though it's intimidating and makes me super nervous, I'm really excited to learn.
Just a little bit of excess oil in there,
Okay.
like just sitting in the bottom. If you leave it like that, it might run down and contaminate your brake.
Brakes?
So
Okay.
you want to give it a real good clean. But otherwise, it's good.
Just like with your chain, any extra oil you're leaving on there is just something for the dirt to stick to later.
It's hard to see, but when you do a lowers service, you actually push a small amount of fork fluid back into the lowers, and it creates a lubrication for the forks to slide up and down. And whenever you put those crush washers on, sometimes you have a tiny bit of oil on the outside of the lower where the crush washer crushes onto. Well, that oil can seep out of that little area there and then just be residue. And eventually it could, one, attract dirt, two, potentially get on your brake rotor, all sorts of things. It's a pretty rare occurrence, but you just want to make sure everything's clean and dry whenever you get done with a service like this. No leftover fluids anywhere they're not supposed to be.
I actually really hope that I can go to races or events self-sufficient, and I also hope that I can help clients who I coach to work on their bikes as well. That's a huge dream of mine.
This is the most rewarding stuff.
I love Jo. She's so rad.
Angie.
Good work.
So, in case you don't remember, Jo is actually a coach in Whistler. That's what she does, I believe, almost full time is coaching in Whistler, and has a lot of athletes that she works with. So, really cool to see Jo learning this type of stuff. Well, that's one thing I noticed about Jo, is that she was always keen to learn about what the bike was doing, why it was doing it, how it was supposed to do it.
Angie.
Okay.
All right, QC check, please.
Wipers are good. Got one sag ring. Looks good. Let's check your rebound.
It turns. With anything, the first time you do something, it is a pretty huge risk, I think, to assume that it is race ready and ready to go. I'd say I was like 80 to 90% confident that it was race ready.
Yep, that looks good. Yeah, perfect.
Done.
Thank you.
All right, amazing job, contestants. It's obviously a very technical challenge, lots of little bits to remember, different weights of oil. Darren, thank you once again for guiding them through it. Let's put these things on your bikes. Let's head into the bike park and start part 2 of the challenge.
All right.
Yesterday was a day off for all the riders, and we went and rode Big White Bike Park, and I took a pretty big tumble in the middle of the day, and I scratched my shoulder, my abdomen, my wrists. I broke my full face, and I have a few scratches along my chin as well, too. Yeah, just loosen up. I'm nervous for that rock chute. I was pretty sore and definitely not feeling in the best riding shape, so I tried to get back out there and just embrace mountain biking again.
Oh, lordy.
What are they racing on today?
Yeah. Just a practice run.
Oh, Rockhammer.
For part 2 of today's challenge.
So Rockhammer, we were talking about my back a little bit. Rockhammer is actually the trail that I broke my back on. Let's see if you see the section that it would happen on.
We'll be simulating a real-world, high-level race scenario by giving the riders the opportunity to practice a racetrack and then work with Darren from Fox on their suspension settings before dropping in for a timed run.
We could maybe speed up your low-speed rebound.
Sure, yeah.
Just help it to rebound more quickly and set you up for the next feature.
Sweet.
This process is often reserved for top-level athletes, and it will be important to take full advantage of Darren's experience.
Make this one click on the low speed. So
Okay, thanks for your help, Darren.
So I was thinking maybe add like a low speed or something.
I would try that.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
I spent all week fiddling with all these dials, and this is definitely the best it's been so far, so this is sick.
Our panel of judges will be looking at the riders' ability to translate their on-trail suspension feel to Darren, and of course, their race time. You guys ready to get racing?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Headspace is something that I have control of. I can choose how I want to respond to a racetrack, and I chose to try to take it as something that I had to overcome, and that's something that I had to move past to be able to be successful. I also try to just focus on only 3 features on the trail and try to nail those 3 features.
Oh, here's the entrance to Rockhammer.
Right at the very start,
And
there's a
wait.
really janky right-hand corner into an off-camber rock roll.
So this janky corner is the corner that I did not slow down for and went straight off. Continue on.
That you had to
Right.
take really slow and wide to even get
There it is. So you can see right here, I will circle it on Photoshop. Boom, that rock, instead of going the way Angie's about to go on the inside of that rock, I went straight off. And that's how I fell and broke my back.
that one.
Woo! Yeah, Angie.
You see that's pretty high.
Keep it up.
There was this narrower
I
part
think
of the single
hopefully
track
we'll get a
after you
better
into
look
the
at it
forest where there's
later
a high
on.
line on the left, like a high grass line, that puts you into a left-hand corner at a better angle, so you're able to carry speed out of the corner a lot better. And then the last feature was the rock chute. I wanted to make sure that I approached that one with confidence and with a strong body position to come out of it strong and to finish.
Back a couple episodes, I talked about a section that we rode with Remy Metellier. And this is it, just on the left side of this screen, that peak is where Remy dropped into. Pretty cool.
Finish the track strong. It's hard not to let something like that get into your head, but I feel like I did it.
Woo, you're done.
Athletic. Woo. I do perform the best under pressure, and so yeah, maybe it is a good thing. Maybe it has been able to push me further in the competition.
So excited to race today. It was so sick to get back on the clock and actually get to shred.
Let's see if they show it. Wait. There it is. So just between Ben's Garmin and Ben's head on the screen, that is where I did not turn and went straight off, went over bars, and landed on my back at the bottom, unfortunately.
The track today was super sick, like such a good racetrack,
Oh,
super fun to
memories.
ride. But yeah, so rough, so physical, and just like full on for like a minute. So yeah, it was pretty fun, but super hard. My mistakes were definitely just missing a few lines that help you set up for corners and help you like round things out. In enduro racing, normally stages are so long that it doesn't really matter if you miss 1 or 2 lines, but today was so short that it definitely made an impact.
Nice job there. That was again that section we were riding with Remy.
Yeah, Ben. Damn it. What happened?
I just missed a couple of important lines. Yeah, I just missed a few high lines that like set you up really nice. I don't think my time would be too bad. It was still decent, but I think I lost a few seconds in a few spots, and it definitely adds up on such a short track.
You think it's enough to beat Evan?
I don't know. I was a bit too sloppy, I think. You never know, though.
We'll see.
Nice riding, Evan.
Oh man, we've all just been like waiting to race. The energy was high and we were all frothing for it today.
I love Evan. He's so good, just so chill.
Going to the 38 is insane and definitely the best suspension setup I've felt on a bike so far.
I actually think
Definitely.
Ben's
funnest
line
day
was a
so
little
far for me.
faster there.
Yeah, Evan.
Oh, yeah.
Roasting.
How'd she go?
Oh, my God, that's fun. What a track.
Time-wise today, I'm pretty stoked with how it went. Dropped in, felt fast off the bat, and didn't really have any bobbles, so I'm stoked with how it went.
Suspension felt good?
Suspension's amazing.
Yeah.
Not even to try to like sell it out, like it's game changing.
I was super excited to race today. It's kind of what we've been here for.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, girl. Looking good.
Come on.
Finally getting used to the bike, so I feel like I'm ready to get some energy out. The suspension allows you to track in a straight line,
Good line.
allows you to corner
nice
really
job,
hard.
Joe.
The G-outs, you don't sort of dive into your fork, you're very supported, so you can just continue like moving through rough sections.
Battles! Yeah, Joe!
Oh,
Look ahead.
this looks so fun.
Look at that corner. Woo!
Nice ride, Joe.
Oh, my bike is perfect.
I was super excited when I finished the lap. It was one of those moments where you just like feel so content and happy and like you got everything out of the bike and the ride that you want.
She's a good girl.
I'm stoked for Joe here because the whole week she was trying to figure out the suspension and trying different settings and working on different things. I'm really happy for her that she finally got it dialed in with Darren's help and set up and ready to go, because she was kind of stressed about that all week. So it's good to see her genuinely stoked on having her bike set up properly.
My bike is definitely a good girl.
So fun. The pistachio's looking like a campfire pistachio now.
Yeah, I got a little roasted.
All right. Another full-on day. We began things with a suspension service and tutorial. Darren, thank you for being here and teaching our riders.
Yep, glad to be here.
Did they impress you or what?
Yeah, for the most part. There was a few mistakes here and there, but overall, like, I was impressed.
Evan was the only one who went through the rebuild effortlessly and did everything correctly. So everybody else had some major issues, I would say. Installing the seals upside down, installing the fork lowers backwards. Those are big issues. Angie did really well during the fork challenge. However, the little mistake that she made, she crushed the crush washer. Not the biggest thing ever, but it's a pain in the butt when that is the final thing that you have to do. Pretty crucial.
Fabian, I want to throw it to you. I saw you out there chirping all the contestants this morning during the rebuild. I don't know if they cracked under pressure, but you know, who made those mistakes in your eyes?
They all did pretty well, but I have to say, Ben, I point him like, hey, are you sure this is okay? Are you sure? And seals the wrong way, hammer down, smash those seal, and it's more about the attitude of being too confident.
Christina, I want to jump into the race. What did you see out there?
Jo actually had some really good lines in there. I was quite proud of her in that way, that she skipped the drops. She instead was pumping down the transition of where the drops would be, and she looked super smooth.
So for Angie, we saw her, she was pretty tense and she was visibly slower than Jo. She picked some not efficient line, ate a couple of rocks, and clearly was super tense. So I think her crash must have played a role in that. She didn't get over it, I think.
Ben came across the finish line visibly disappointed, shaking his head, took his goggles off. He knew he kind of blew it.
Ben and Evan were pretty similar in terms of speed. Both picked a very good line. So it seems like maybe Ben, competitor spirit, like pushed him to make some mistake, and it seems like Evan kept it together, chill, like steady, and yeah, Ben got beaten.
So we have two riders pretty clearly in the bottom today. Do we know which one would go home?
So this is pretty interesting because throughout the week, from my perspective, I always saw Ben as Mr. Consistency. Now, granted, we hadn't actually raced at that point in time. Well, we did, but it was kind of a preliminary race that no one went full throttle on. But I always saw Ben as kind of Mr. Consistency, being a downhill rider. He was always very strategic with his line choice and always looked in control. Where when I rode with Evan, he was always in control too, but he looked more like a loose cannon. Like, he just looked like he was pushing a little harder than Ben was. So I'm interested. It is interesting that at the end of the race, although Ben felt like he missed a ton of lines, some lines, he was only 1.8 seconds off of Evan. I thought the margin was going to be a little bit greater in that situation. And then on Angie's side of things, that is an unfortunately huge part of mountain biking. Is when you crash, are you able to get back up and continue on? Or is it going to be a mental distortion for you moving forward? I don't know if it was raw speed or if the mental game was playing with her, but she was definitely significantly off of Jo in this situation. She's got a lot to recover from for that. And granted, the day after a crash, it is hard to move past a big crash in such a timely fashion, but enduro racing is, you've almost got to do it on the same day. Within a few minutes, you've got to get back up and keep charging. Interesting to hear the judges' perspective there.
I think we all know.
I think we've got an answer.
Today was definitely the most technical challenge yet. We don't expect you to be pro suspension gurus, but everything we did today is a part of being a pro athlete. That being said, Ben, Angie, please take a step forward. Ben, you rushed through the fork service, and unfortunately, you missed a few of those lines out on track today.
Definitely a little bit worried about the elimination. I just made a few crucial mistakes, and in like a really short track, one little mistake costs a lot.
Angie, you made a couple of minor mistakes during the fork service, and it seemed like on track you were a little off the back as well.
I have no regrets in how I performed, and I feel like it's been an awesome journey, and I really hope that it continues.
Ben, Angie, luckily for you, the judges took a look at the results and decided that today there will be no elimination. You are both safe. However, the results from today do carry forward, so keep that in mind for the next challenge. Good job today, guys.
Okay, that's an interesting twist. And actually is, in my opinion, I really feel like the judges made the right call there. It would be unfair to eliminate somebody based on a suspension challenge. 3 of the 4 contestants have never done that before, and knowing how to do that, even after you get explicit instructions from somebody, doing a fork service like that, there are so many different steps that need to be done in a very particular order and to particular amounts when you're talking about fluids, that judging 3 athletes that have never done it before on that competition is just downright unfair. Ben, I feel, should have maybe bucked up and asked more questions during the process, and Joe actually did an excellent job on that. You saw that. But I wish Ben maybe would have asked a few more questions. It would have helped him along, but I don't think that anyone deserves to get an elimination on that. And then if you eliminate that portion of the contest, then you kind of have to eliminate the race portion as well. They were on brand new forks that they had never ridden before, that they had just started setting up. And if you look at it numbers for numbers, Ben didn't do very well in the suspension challenge, but honestly, in my opinion, I think he did really great in the race. He said he missed a few lines and he was less than 2 seconds off the back of Evan. That shows a lot of speed in him and a good ability to make up for your mistakes, regain composure, and just keep trucking on with the race. Because 2 seconds is not that much. Even in a 2-minute race or a 1.5-minute race, 2 seconds is not crazy number of time. And then for Angie, she for the better part of killed it in the suspension challenge, except one, although big detail at the end, is something that unless you know the exact torque spec in your head drilled in, granted you could have taken notes on it, this, that, and the other, but unless you know that and you use a torque wrench on a regular basis, it's really hard to think of having the proper torque on that bolt. So if she over torqued it and crushed the crush washer, I can't really blame her on that. I've done it before, and again, I do it for a living. So if you're going to eliminate one of the challenges, you kind of got to eliminate both the challenge. Therefore, I feel like the judges had a really good reason to not eliminate anybody today. Just my personal opinion. Of course, this is my behind the scenes, so I get to have all the opinions I want. Anyways, more on my crash. So I'm hoping that eventually we'll get a better picture of it. But when you start into Rock Hammer, it is a long straightaway and it's sandy and loose. And then you've got that sort of hard left and then a really, really hard right, and you go down that rock chute that you saw all the riders riding down. Well, I got a little bit too much speed. I guess I wasn't 100% paying attention. I wasn't focused as I should be. Grabbed the brakes in the sandy section and just nothing happened. I just kept sliding and sliding. And I just went straight off of that cliff. Instead of making the right-hand turn, I just went straight off. And I remember thinking as I went into it, like, okay, this isn't a straight rock face. Like, it's not an absolute cliff. So if I commit to it and push into the transition, maybe I'll be able to catch the backside. And that is actually what caused me to kick end over end off that rock and landing flat on my back at the bottom. Not fun, not a good situation. I'll continue talking more about that in later episodes, but I'm good to go now. I'm healed up. I start physio pretty soon, and we're back on the road to success. For episode 7, that was really interesting. It's cool being on this side of the camera and not knowing exactly what's going to happen, because I actually get to sit in the passenger seat for once and watch the episode unfold. It's pretty cool. It's exciting. I really hope you like these videos. I'll continue making more of them. We've got 3 more episodes in the series, and then I actually plan 2 or 3 finalization episodes, like where we wrap everything up, hoping to get some of the other contestants on the phone and do an interview with them and talk to them about their experience, this, that, and the other. Episode 6.5 with my sister, and then just one of my general wrap-up of Pinkbike Academy, my full experience and what I thought of the thing as an entirety. And with that, I will end that episode here. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you do, and we'll see you back pretty soon for episode 8 for Pinkbike Academy behind the scenes with myself. Peace.